Welcome you all to the Lean Global Connection Lego session from Hungary. When Henrik first started talking about lean and digitalization, it immediately caught my attention. It sounded so interesting that I thought this subject is a great opportunity for all of us to dive deeper. So in the next half an hour, Henrik will share his key insights, benefits, and lessons learned from his journey. Uh, we will have about 20 minutes presentation, followed then by a 10 minutes Q&A. So please drop your questions into the Q&A session as we go. Let's get started. Please join in welcoming Henrik on the stage.
All right, thank you very much, Cheva, and thank you for the introduction. Hope to be able to do it justice. So let me just go ahead and share my screen for everyone. All right. So far, so good. So yeah, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure already to join in for this session. First hearing from Jim, and I had the opportunity to get a sneak at some of the other sessions as well. And it's always interesting to see how we overlap in many ways, but then we have these kind of subtle little differences between each others as well. But that's of course what we're here to learn from. So what I would like to take you through today is the topic around lean and digital, basically calling it brick by brick because we happen to be working for the best toy company in the world. So I'll share about benefits and learnings that we've done so far here at Lego Manufacturing in Nyíregyháza, Hungary, and in my function as head of the Lego Continuous Improvement team here. So first off, a little bit about myself. As mentioned, I'm having the pleasure of being a director for the Lego Continuous Improvement and Business Intelligence team here in Hungary. I've been working with Lean and Digital for over 15 years. Basically started my career as a trainee with the Lego Group and transitioned within our Lego production system to eventually also be working more and more with digital and with data as that started coming in to our manufacturing environment. And then gradually transitioning more and more into also working with the merged environment of these two methodologies, if you will, basically. I'm originally from Denmark, but I've also had the pleasure, especially with the Lego Group, to kind of see the world. So starting from Denmark, I've had the pleasure of being the Continuous Improvement Director also at our packing site in the Czech Republic, and now for just over a year, I've been heading up our location here in Nyíregyháza in Hungary, which is actually our biggest manufacturing site in Europe and the second biggest that we have globally, only outdone by our site in Monterrey, Mexico, which is still a little bit bigger than us. And then as a bit of a fun fact, I have a huge passion, my wife would probably say obsession, about running. And I think that speaks very well into the company that I'm working for as well, because I recently hit my 100th marathon or ultra completion. And when I first came to the company and mentioned that I was about to hit this milestone, they actually hosted a running event. So you can see here me with the Lego running shirt and number 100 and everything. So, big passion of mine, but also speaks a lot to the company and the culture within the Lego Group. But yeah, enough about me. I also want to take you through a little bit about our journey so far with Lego Continuous Improvement, and then we'll dig into the subject matter about lean and digital in connection with each other. So our journey so far, we work a lot according to our motto for the company, only the best is good enough. And from a lean perspective, the way that started was initially back in 2007 as the Lego production system. It was initiated as a pilot exclusively in our Danish production environment and was eventually matured to becoming the Lego production system across all of our factories. That was at a time where we didn't have as many factories, albeit, but it was basically an approach across the manufacturing environment. And our focus back then was basic core lean concepts. It was the physical KPI boards to start getting people familiar with what is a KPI and what do you do with it. So how do you perform a go look see after seeing red figures? How do you initiate a PDCA and how do you actually follow that through? So it was very much about these physical KPI boards, getting those in place, getting the basic shop floor management in place and having structured problem solving following the eight-step approach as one of our core pillars that we started working with and has been one of our core pillars for years since. Then in 2011, we officially became Lego Continuous Improvement. So our Lego production system teams were merged with the more admin-focused continuous improvement teams. And this was the first time where the Lego group started having a company-wide ambition of reaching a mature level of lean across all functions. And the way that we went about this was to introduce the Lego Continuous Improvement Assessment, which is essentially translating all the different tools and methods of lean into one simple assessment to basically raise the maturity level within departments. And we coupled this with also having one global lean toolbox to make sure that for any lean tool or method, there was a global standard in place with training material available in multiple languages, so it was easy for the different areas of the business to adopt. Then since 2022, and for the focus point for today, it's been about adding value from data and digital. So since 2022, we started the merge with business intelligence teams. We wanted to harness the value from connecting lean and digital by merging with the BI teams. But at the same time, we wanted to stay true to the core lean foundation with our focus being more redirected towards global operations. And we have this fundamental purpose in our teams of enabling the Lego Group to reach more children through continuous improvement of safety, quality, delivery, cost, people, and environment. And I hope you get to see some of that kind of reflected in the core pieces that I'll be sharing with you today. But that's essentially how we get started, and kind of reflecting a little bit on the presentation I saw from Jim Womack. You know, it was quite interesting, this conversation about going from the lean heroes to the lean management. And I think one of the things that I see we've done quite well, or maybe we've been lucky with within the Lego Group, is the introduction of our continuous improvement assessment, and having that in place since 2011 has been a core element of keeping a continuous strong level of lean. Because inevitably, as was mentioned by Jim, if you have some of these heroes departing the business, maybe the level drops. But if you are continuously measuring your maturity level, we've at least found that you have a continuous opportunity to keep the level high, even if you may incur some small dips when a lean hero would leave, as long as you keep the general management level at a high one. But that was enough reflecting on Jim's presentation. So moving on to the topic of today, lean and digital, brick by brick, and how we are at least aiming for staying true to our lean foundation while embracing a digital age. And I kind of want to start with a summary of what are the key learnings that we've experienced so far, and then I'll couple that with 3 examples of what that means in practice for us. So key learnings from merging lean and digital, and you can kind of see our own little lean house up in the top right, where we've merged traditional lean with digital functions as well. So first learning is about opportunity and appeal. We see continuously that there's a huge appeal and trend for going more and more digital. I think it was mentioned in one of the other sessions as well, the topic around AI. And we continuously see these different trends. And naturally, we need to look at that and embrace it. So what we see are basically massive opportunities for adding value with instant update, flexible solutions, accessibility anywhere, and really being able to improve our performance management where the digital solutions are best fit for purpose. And fit for purpose is kind of one of the key mantras that we work with in our team, because we do see, and that's the other key learning in this, a lot of digital waste. So we've encountered many situations where people believe that because digital is the big trend, then naturally a digital solution is what they need for whatever problem or opportunity they're faced with. But that can also create a lot of digital waste, and we need to avoid digitalizing a wasteful process. So one of the absolute key learnings for us has been how essential it is to continuously map the process, address it with core lean tools to remove waste, and then actually have an evaluation point if a digital solution is still the right answer. Since the official merge with our BI teams, we've had many examples already where a proposal is made and an ask is made for a digital solution, but after applying our core lean methods of mapping the process, removing waste, maybe it's actually just a simple process change that's needed, and therefore we can add value even more for the business and avoid also spending the time, effort, and money on building digital solutions. And one of the guiding principles, and that's the third key learning that I hope that you take with you from this today as well, is about ownership. Ownership is key. And that also carries into the part about digital waste. If you lose the ownership of the process that you're addressing by implementing a digital solution, then you lose the added value. So without ownership, value is lost. So you need to ensure that whatever you are working with, whatever improvement, problem solving that you're doing, it needs to empower and motivate at the right level towards the right behavior. And that's exactly what I hope that you'll see in the three examples that I'm just about to share with you. But essentially, you would also recognize maybe some of the core lean principles in this, because core to this is about understanding customer value, mapping the process, removing waste. But then also when we implement these different solutions, if we do get to a point of implementing something digital, then we need to embrace the principle of pursuing perfection. So it cannot be one-off solutions. It needs to be that it's aimed for continuous improvement so people can continuously provide feedback and we are able to continuously improve on the solutions as well. All right, so let's move to the first example. So let's talk performance management, the beating heart of our factories. So what you see here on the screen is essentially how we operate our core performance management. Of course, on top of this, we also have our Hoshinkanri set up. But if we talk about the core performance management that we run within a manufacturing environment, let me just bring in a laser pointer here so I can keep track with everyone as well. So you can see here on the top that we've got our different roles within the business, from operators up to our general manager. And then we've got the different types of performance management that we are performing. And basically in this, we are following a principle of we implement digital boards or screens where the main value is derived from the data, in the sense that it then drives the right actions and it drives the right Gemba walks. And then in other cases, we actually insist on the manual boards where the main value is being derived from the ownership and from the personal engagement. So if I just click on a little bit here, then what you can see is that when we talk process monitoring, area huddle, and daily huddle, these are the ones where we found that the most value actually comes from having it with digital boards or screens, because here you get the automated data capture, you get the easy transparency of performance that it provides, but the real value on this comes from what we do with it. So the PDCA actions that we initiate because we see a red figure, or especially the Gemba walks that are initiated as a result of observing missed performance in some areas. And that's actually one of the interesting areas where we find a really good combination, because even though we have the digital boards in place, then we can also use it to nudge ourselves for the Gemba walks. So we have a principle that for our daily factory huddle, we want to do at least 2 Gemba walks afterwards every day. But if we struggle to come up with a proposal for it, because we don't necessarily see it, then we actually have an automatic generator that proposes randomly different areas to go and different topics to focus on for the Gemba walk. So that way it can also nudge us towards continuous improvement. And then, as you can probably guess, the other areas of the other levels of performance management are then predominantly done through manual boards. So for example, an hour by hour board in a production environment, that derives the most value from having operators being able to write directly on a whiteboard, green figures if they're in control, red if they're not, and if they're not, with comments around what occurred, what held them back from achieving the performance target. And the same thing for a shift handover. It's about getting the shift together, doing a proper handover to each other, and that's not going to benefit from a digital solution. And in the end, one thing that might be surprising or might not is when we get to the visual factory level where it's our senior leadership that's gathered together. There again, we find the most value from the manual boards because here it's about getting the whole leadership together, looking at the entire supply chain and having that personal engagement that drives the right actions. So this is basically how we combine lean and digital in our performance management setup. Um, Another example, also taking a core lean tool or method. This is probably one of my favorite ones because I love going out for process confirmations and seeing how we're actually producing, getting to see the bricks getting produced or decorated, or when we see the final sets rolling off the line. So for process confirmation, um, and I'll take you through kind of three key steps for this. We had firstly a situation. We perform hundreds of process confirmations every single week to secure optimal performance. And previously, this was a paper-based setup. We had standards printed out, people were performing the process confirmation, and then afterwards, these papers would be gathered and there would be a manual data entry. So it's a process that was core to operations and still very much is, but how we were handling it after the fact was very manual and it was very people dependent, very discipline dependent if we had any changes or updates to our standards. So the idea came if we could create a digital solution that maintains ownership on the shop floor while removing waste. So we wanted to stay true to the original intent, but remove the wasteful parts of the process. And that took us to a simple solution, but it has a very big effect in real life. So we created in-house a very simple application where we took our entire repository of all of our standard documents, linked it into this application, had it sorted for all the different areas. So now they're using an app through either a tablet or a smartphone to identify what processes do they need to do process confirmation of on the day. And they can continuously monitor if they have actually met the performance target for how many they should be performing, but also if they have any that have not been okay, then there's a continuous follow-up. And in this, it actually also helps nudge an area to identify if there are some processes that they have maybe not been doing the process confirmation of in maybe the last couple of weeks. So that's an open opportunity that is then suggested and thereby can much easier be carried out. And what we really appreciate with this is especially the improvement that we get on efficiency, because any update to a standard is immediately reflected in the application. So instead of then printing it out and having to hand it out to all the different areas, we get the immediate update of the standard and it's immediately reflected when we then perform the process confirmation. So this is one of my favorite examples of taking a very traditional core lean tool or method, recognizing that there are ways that digital initiatives could actually improve it, and then delivering it with an in-house solution so we also keep it simple, effective, and flexible. And the other example is actually quite similar to it, but also one that I definitely hold quite dear because it's about 5S. And it's always about 5S in a manufacturing environment. But basically, the situation that we found here was we want to keep our manufacturing environment to the highest possible level of 5S so we can create the safest possible space that energizes our colleagues. So again, it's a tool method that is core to operations, but what we discovered was there were many gray areas. We were very good at focusing on our production lines themselves, but as soon as we got outside to some of the supporting areas, it didn't have that same focus and attention. So we had many gray areas. And so the basic idea came to again create a digital solution that drives coverage of the entire shop floor with easy ways to address nonconformities. So similar principle, we stay true to intent, but we remove the waste. In this case, the waste was the areas that we were not aware of or simply didn't have a 5S audit of in order to keep high level in it. And in the end, the resolution again became an application that we built in-house. So 5S app built in-house, connected to our factory layout with any deviations being linked to immediate PDCA actions. So again, you go out with a tablet or your smartphone and you perform this 5S audit, And if you find any deviations, you capture a photo and it's immediately registered as a PDCA action. So again, it's simple, it's effective, and it's flexible because we're able to build this in-house. And that's where we really see some of the value of merging a lean team with a BI team is about this simplicity, effectiveness, and flexibility. Um, and that's probably my last slide as well before I want to open up for questions from everyone. And that's just to give, recognition to the team that I have. I have a very big, very diverse team of both lean professionals, BI talents, a lot of them that are still studying even, and then external experts to bring lean and digital together. So these are the ones kind of building the whole, and I'm just getting the pleasure of leading these people. So we're really trying to live the principles of brave, curious, and focused, and working as one Lego team together. So, yeah, that was basically it. So, thank you very much, and look forward to any questions or reflections that you may have.
Thank you, Henrik, for your sharing. Uh, I think we are just here for the Q&A. We have three questions to ask. We have three questions. One is partly already covered, but I think let's start with the most interesting one, which is from Pedro Monteiro. I understand it's now cultural, but what was the secret sauce to make it stick and get leadership involved?
Yeah, I think the starting point for us was actually we're all owned by the Kid Christiansen family, the original owner family. I think one of the big tipping points when we first started in 2007 was actually that the owner family stepped up and made it clear that this was a new journey that we were embarking on, and kind of equated it to running or riding up a mountain. Some people, a lot of people are going to make it. Some we're going to have to help up, and some we're going to have to help get down. So that was a real tipping point for the company, and that was how we got started back in 2007. But then, continuously following that up with a leadership commitment, I think the real tipping point came in 2011, where we became the official Lego Continuous Improvement. We had it recognized as a company-wide approach, so not just in manufacturing, but also in admin areas like finance, IT, design, all areas of the business. It was a company-wide target to reach a certain maturity level. And therefore, it was also backed from the highest level. So from our owner family to our CEO and the rest of the business, it was fully backed. And that was really the tipping point that made the big difference.
Okay, thank you very much. And then the second one, it's more about the Gamba. It was Todd with the process confirmation example. How did you measure effectiveness of the digital solution?
That's a good question. So there are some key parts to it. So effectiveness of the digital solution in this case, firstly, it was about removing the wasteful process steps that we had identified. So it was about successfully being able to remove the need for having the printed papers, for performing the process confirmation, removing the need for having to perform the manual data entry, and removing the manual performance measurement that was taking place. That was the first part. What we've then been adding on to it as we've been basically growing our focus on, for example, standardized work, is to connect the expected time with the process confirmation that's being carried out. And that's where we start to see additional performance improvements by connecting these two. So initially it was about removing the waste and getting those benefits. And then afterwards, we've gotten added benefits from also adding the standardized work as a focus point.
Okay. Thank you very much. And then one more question. I think it will be easy to answer. That having owners leadership embrace and lead success. Find it ironic that Lego did this later than others. When did this start? I may have missed the date. That was the question. So you can answer it very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, officially the pilot began in 2007, and yes, it's true that then we didn't officially become Lego Continuous Improvement until 2011. But I think what probably boosted us a lot in the beginning when we started with the pilot was we had the some external former Toyota professionals brought in to basically help teach us and boost the business, and that kind of helped with the original kind of baseline getting established. So it's definitely correct that we took a while to get on board because we're a family-owned company, and in many ways we're still, mentally maybe sometimes we're still a traditional craftsman company, and therefore there are some things that we still need to adopt. But I think once we've gotten on board with this, our trajectory has also been quite steep.
Okay, thank you. And just three examples. It's from Michael or Michael. Are you using mobile software tools to manage your Gamba walks? You answered that partly. And the
Yes.
continuous improvement and project, I think the second part would be interesting in this question. How do you use the digitalization in the continuous improvement actions and projects?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think for that, I would need to separate between two different types of the continuous improvement that we do. So for the daily idea program that we have for all people across the business, that is a mobile application that we've created, so anyone can submit an idea, and we've built it in a way where even if people don't have a company phone, they can actually get an access through their private phones and still submit ideas through a protected platform for the company. So that way we can get it from all operators and above. Then next to that, we have what we call Brick Brain, which is our Kaizen event, which is basically taking an inspiration from lean methods for continuous improvement as well as Six Sigma in our approach to it. And that is completely non-digital because it's about bringing cross-functional teams together, having them in the same room together, and kind of breaking down some of those barriers that we may otherwise encounter. So there we actually have almost the principle of saying they might end up suggesting a digital solution as their resolution, but while they're working on this Kaizen event, it's about people getting together across function in one room physically. So that's how we kind of separate those.
That's great. Thank you, Henrik. One more question from Chilla from Hungary. Is the solution applied only in the Hungarian factory, or more location use the same solutions?
Yeah. So to different levels of maturity, but basically all of our manufacturing sites now have these BI teams integrated with our continuous improvement teams. So we all work with these kind of collected solutions to various levels. And I think it was maybe it was Jim or one of the others in their presentation also highlighted that it needs to be adaptable to the customer needs. So what we have focused on here is around the process confirmation about the 5S, and that's what the other sites have in place as well. But then there might be cases where we might develop a solution that the other sites do not need. But essentially, we all have the capacity to do so.
Okay, just I think one more last questions from Oriol. Is Lego series play used?
Every day. We just don't, for us, it's not serious play. We call it the leadership playground. And that's where the brave, curious, and focused comes in. So we actually have programs across the whole company about living the leadership playground and having campfire sessions on being brave, curious, and focused, and basically building our sometimes Kaizen events around it as well. So I would say very much just in a different form.
Thank you
Okay.
for all. Then we leave.
Chaba,
Enjoy.
Henrik, thank you for these stories about Lego. As a Lego lover, we really appreciate knowing you're applying so much about Kaizen and improvement there. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.